NASCAR and the teams are yet to finalize a charter agreement as the current one is set to expire after the 2024 season. The conversations seem to be never-ending. Right now, Denny Hamlin has given the status of the current negotiations, and it looks as though neither party will be getting what they want. Hamlin also believes that NASCAR is doing everything possible to delay the charter agreement, so the teams become more desperate. But we can assure that you will be getting the NASCAR content you want by hitting that subscribe button for our channel. So what are you waiting for? Last week at Darlington, a 2311 investor named Curtis Polk wore a handwritten message on a piece of paper attached to his shirt that said, "Please don't ask me about my charter. I don't want to disparage NASCAR and lose it." When asked about the shirt, Hamlin said, "I would choose not to speak about Polk's shirt, but it kind of speaks for itself, and I can't believe he actually wore that." Hamlin said, "A few months back, Denny Hamlin made it clear what they were looking for in a new contract. They wanted permanent charters so all the teams could be more self-sufficient. In addition to this, the teams are looking for higher revenue and value of the charter. But now it seems as though NASCAR is intentionally delaying the process." Here's what Denny Hamlin said, "I think for a very, very long time, NASCAR has said this is our family business, and if you don't like it, you don't have to participate." Hamlin said, "I think the world has changed since that mentality was established a long, long time ago by Bill France Sr. And while I certainly respect everything they have built, and that they have done a good job, at a certain point you have to update your thinking, or else you will hold the sport back. Healthy and viable teams is what grows sports, and you've seen a lot of money come into teams, and it propels sports forward because they all pull the rope in the same direction. The interest of the teams is the same as the league. They join up and collect their asset and sell it together. And right now, NASCAR owns this and teams own that, and we compete for the same sponsors. All we do is compete against each other instead of locking arms and grow the sport together. In my opinion, until we do that, we're just going to continue spinning our tires." Denny Hamlin wants all the teams and NASCAR to work together to grow this sport. At the moment, it seems as though teams are just competing against each other every day. There's not much respect and understanding between the teams. Right now, the teams look at each other as contenders and not partners. While the teams are competing against each other, they should also work together to build more value to the sport to increase its value. But the current setting of the NASCAR charter agreement does not allow them to do that. "It never should have gotten to this point, but the parties involved have dragged their feet," Hamlin added. "I believe this is part of NASCAR's strategy, to drag it to the last hour and put teams in a panic situation. I don't think we're panicked. I just think we have to keep going until both sides reach a point where they feel it's in a good spot. There's rights and things we have that we deem very important that NASCAR would no longer be able to use after that date," Hamlin said. 2311 is in the racing business, and we plan on racing cars and wouldn't have invested what we would have into the sport if we didn't, so it's just a matter of whether we have charters or not," Hamlin added. Denny Hamlin believes that NASCAR is intentionally delaying the charter agreement to send the teams in a panic more so they will accept whatever's on the table. While this seems unethical, NASCAR has every right to do that. At the end of the day, NASCAR is a private organization and a family business. As Hamlin said, if any of the teams does not like how NASCAR is handling things, they're free to leave. So far, we haven't heard much from NASCAR. However, recently, NASCAR's new president, Steve Phelps, decided to address his side of things regarding the charter negotiations. So this is one of the first opportunities I've had to talk about it, because we're not going to negotiate through the media, and we never have during this whole process," Phelps said. "The teams have felt the need to do that. That's fine. Do I think charters will be extended? I do. Do I think it's important that they're extended? I do. I think it's in the best interest of the sport that the charters are extended. And I know fans don't typically care about charters. They don't care about team costs or the business side. They just want good racing. They want their favorite drivers to win. They want storylines. They want guys to hate, drama, and great racing. What I would say is that they should care. Healthy racing teams put on better racing. The race teams have early on said they wanted three things: to be able to compete on the racetrack, in a strong sense, more opportunities for the team in the middle and back of the grid, to be more successful. They want to make sure they are cash flow even or at least break even as opposed to losing money, and I totally get that. The third thing is they want to increase the enterprise value of the charters. Essentially, I won't get into what charters are selling for right now, but it's significantly more than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, and way more than 9 years ago because they didn't exist. Although Steve Phelps did not mention the charter value, it is estimated that the charter is worth about $20 million at the moment. However, this value can increase if NASCAR permits permanent charters to the teams. Most other motorsport series have it. Phelps then continued to talk about what they had offered. "We have offered the teams more money," he said. "I won't get into what that looks like, but it is more money because it was important to the race teams that they have more money, and we agree with that. So our proposals for a while now have contained more money that would go to the race teams. It's important. I believe, and there are some people in our own building that disagree and within the race teams, trying to control costs is going to be critical. If it doesn't change in 7 years when we're again negotiating the financials of these charters, it will come back to them not making money or losing X, Y, and Z, so we'll always be chasing that. Typically, when more money is given, race teams will want to take every dollar and spend it to go fast, and it's a vicious cycle. I get it, because if you don't go fast, it's harder to get sponsorship. The additional money will be a good plus point for the teams. However, they would still prefer permanent charters. This will allow the teams to be more independent and go after their own sponsors, instead of depending on drivers to bring in sponsors. However, the latest reports have suggested that NASCAR has denied the request for permanent charters and is now looking for a 7-year charter agreement. Phelps then gave an explanation as to why they're not providing permanent charters. "The charters are not franchises," Phelps said. "Stick and ball sports, you buy a franchise, but a charter is not a franchise. With a charter, you're buying a guaranteed starting spot. You're buying some known fixed revenue, and you compete for the rest of the revenue. You get some level of governance. That's what a charter is and where it stops. It's not a collective of 1/30th and representing 1/30th of the sport, and has a commissioner that makes decisions for all 30 franchises. That's the difference. But you go back to what a charter is supposed to do. Does it provide some level of governance? Yes. Does it provide some level of enterprise value if I decide to get out of the sport? It does. Does it provide fixed and variable revenue? It does." NASCAR believes that a new charter agreement will be finalized before this year's final race in Phoenix. However, Denny Hamlin does not think so. "There are always a handful of teams that will agree to whatever NASCAR says, but there are also those who will look at things from a business perspective like Denny Hamlin. Ever since the negotiations started, Hamlin has been pretty much the only team owner who has been vocal on it. The other team members have been silently talking with Hamlin, but have never addressed anything publicly. The teams and NASCAR need to find some common ground they can agree on, but at the moment, the negotiations seem one-sided according to Hamlin. While it is true that NASCAR has decided to pay more to the teams under the new agreement, it may not be enough. Week after week, the stadiums are filled to see superstar drivers such as Kyle Larson, Hamlin, and more to race each other on track. However, most of the money that is spent by fans to see these drivers is going to NASCAR themselves. Hamlin and some of the teams believe that they should get a big share of the profits. But since NASCAR is not willing to do so, they are looking to wait out the negotiations until the teams become more desperate and just take what's at the table. It's going to be interesting to see how things turn out in the coming weeks. Do you think NASCAR is treating the teams fairly in these negotiations? Post your thoughts in the comments section below.